Hi, this is Joe, and welcome back for another video. In this video, we're going to do some test cutting using the Cobalt 7 1/4 inch miter saw. And on this saw, I have the Harbor Freight Admiral metal cutting blade. Notice it has carbide teeth on it. Basically, the saw has been, the only thing I've done to the saw is properly set it up according to the manufacturer's directions, and I mounted the metal cutting saw blade onto the saw. Now, one important notice you need to, if you're going to do this, one important thing you need to do is this saw rotates clockwise. And if you'll notice, the writing on the blade is facing inside. So you want the carbide teeth pointing so that the blade, when it rotates in the clockwise direction, the blade rotates so that the blade turns to the back fence of the saw. If you look at a regular saw blade, usually the printing or color printing of the saw blade is facing out. In this particular case, it's just the opposite. The wording on the saw is facing in toward the motor. So make sure that when you mount your blade, you have the carbide teeth turning clockwise. So what we have here is, I have some 1/4 inch rebar. I have some 1/8 inch flat bar, and this is cold rolled. I have some 1/2 inch tube pipe, and I have some 1 inch square tube, about 1/8 inch wall thickness. So what I'm going to do is we're going to fire up the dry cut saw here, and I'll zoom the camera in close to the blade so you can see what's happening, and we'll do some test cuts to see how this $120 Cobalt 7 1/4 inch miter saw works with a metal cutting blade on it. Let's get started. If we're looking at the edge, it cut very nicely. There are no burrs on the piece, and the piece is just lightly worn. Normally, if you're cutting on a composite chop saw, sparks are flying and this almost gets red hot. So this is very nice. I like how this is cutting. Let's go on and try the 1/4 inch rebar. The rebar is not very warm, very little burrs, a nice clean cut. Okay, let's try the 1/2 inch tubing. Just a tiny little burr. Again, just slightly warm and nice cut. Let's now try the 1 inch square tube. there's a little bit of a burr on the edge. Like a little bit of a burr. Again, the part is just lightly warm. All in all, these cuts were done very nicely. Maybe not as clean as a dry cut saw that's spinning at 12 to 1500 RPM, but I do like the results of this cut. What I'm going to do in the next video, I also have a Diablo metal cutting saw. We're going to run some comparison cuts. We're going to measure temperature, and we're going to measure different pressures, and we're going to compare the Diablo blade to the Harbor Freight Admiral blade. So hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.